Ek dink almal weet al ek is Leandre van Rooyen en ek is nou al seker 9 jaar. Ek gaan al op my 9de jaar in hierdie bedryf. Is daar enigiemand wat net Engels verstaan? Because I prepared everything in English. So I can do a little bit of English, a little bit of both. Is that fine? Okay, shout wanneer julle nie weet waarvan ons gaan gesels nie. At the end of last year, I always do monthly marketing reports, and I told Antonio that I think goal setting is one of the things that we all oversee. I haven't set my own goals for this year, so I'm going to do it practically with you all today. And the idea is not to have a show and tell, and you all leave having to do it at home, because goal setting is one of those things that we never make time for. So today we're going to do it practically. Everybody needs to have a little booklet of papers. We're going to brainstorm, so this is going to be an interactive session. Ideally it would have worked well if we were in a round table, but because we are so many people, it works well with the setup that we have. But always please shout out, put up your hand. The idea is that we brainstorm off of each other, use each other's ideas, because we all work in different areas within the same industry. So we are not direct competition for each other. The idea of goal setting seminars is I want to share 2 ideas that I've used in the past, and I'll share some personal stories as to how it worked for me, where it didn't work, and what you do to overcome those obstacles that we all face on a daily basis. So in front of you, just to be thorough, I'm going to read it, but goal setting is much more than simply saying you want something to happen. Unless you clearly define exactly what you want and understand, most importantly, why you want it in the first place, your odds of success is considerably reduced. By following 5 rules of goal settings, you can set goals with confidence and enjoy the satisfaction that comes along with knowing you achieved exactly what you set out to do. Post your goals, most importantly, in a visible place to remind yourself every day of what it is you intend to do. Put them on your wall, desk, computer monitor, bathroom mirror, or refrigerator as a constant reminder. We're going to get to the 5 steps soon. First, I want to just share with you all a short video. And this guy, Dandapani, that's going to introduce himself, has been a monk in Hawaii for 10 years, and after that decided to come out of monastery. He was still in his early 30s, or he still is, and decided to become an entrepreneur, and he's sharing his ideas of how the mind works with all of us.
So the first thing I learned when I went to the monastery was to learn how the mind works. Because once you know how the mind works, you can control it, and once you can control it, you can focus it. You can't focus or concentrate something you don't understand.
When people say to me, life is too busy, I can't simplify, no, it's you don't want to. You have the choice. Nobody's holding a gun to your head saying, you have to associate with these people, you have to do these things. No, you choose to do them. People say this to me all the time. You know, I hang around with entrepreneurs and other people that you and I have met. They've come up with Snapchat. You need to be on Snapchat. I'm like, I don't need to be on Snapchat. I don't care what comes up tomorrow, I'm not going to do it. Because I can't sustain it, right? That's going to take a little bit more of my energy each day. And I only have this much energy, and I need to divide it between all the people and things that I love. Right, law of thermodynamics states you cannot create or destroy energy, but you can transfer it from one thing to another or transform it from one thing to another. So I can't create more energy, I only have this much. Because come 11 o'clock tonight, I'll be exhausted and ready to sleep. So I got this much, 100%. I need to know where I'm dividing. I always tell entrepreneurs to look at energy the same way they look at money. It's a finite resource that needs to be wisely managed, wisely reallocated, and wisely invested.
The average person sleeps, what, 7 to 8 hours? To say, roughly. So we're awake for about 16 hours of the day. Let's just say on average we're practicing it 13 hours a day, 7 days a week distraction. And then you wonder why you're so good at it. That's the law of practice. The law of practice is that we become good at whatever it is we practice. Whether it's positive or negative, it doesn't matter. If you practice something over and over and over again, you become really good at it. And that's why people are so good at distraction, because it's what they practice. And then people say things like, technology are great distractors, right? Smartphones. Oh, I have this thing so distracting, my smartphone. The internet. Are they distractors? I'd like to say no first, and then yes. But mostly no. Technology in itself is not a bad thing. It's actually a beautiful thing, as long as we're in charge of it. But if every time your iPhone beeps or makes a sound and you turn to it and you go, yes, master, how can I serve you today? Then you live in that world of distraction. It's training you to be distracted. But if you actually use technology, then technology is not a bad thing. So how do we become good at concentrating? We start by understanding the mind, right? All of us have a mind. It's the most powerful tool in the world. It built a smartphone, it's put machines that drive itself on Mars. So the first thing I learned when I went to the monastery was to learn how the mind works. Because once you know how the mind works, you can control it. And once you can control it, you can focus it. You can't focus or concentrate something you don't understand. So how does the mind work? From the monk's perspective, from the monk's experience of the mind, there's two things that you need to understand. One is there's awareness, and one is the mind. So I'll take a few moments to explain this to you and share what they are. So imagine awareness as a glowing ball of light, like an orb that can float around. Okay, so that's awareness. Now imagine your mind as a vast space, vast area with many different sections within it. One area of the mind is anger, jealousy, food, sex, happiness, joy, science, art. And this glowing ball of light called awareness can travel within the mind, and it can go to any area of the mind it wants to go to. And when it goes to a particular area of the mind, it lights up that area. When it lights up that area of the mind, you become conscious of it. And this is what happens all day. We allow people and things around us to take awareness from one area of the mind to another all day long, from the time we wake up. And therefore, we become distracted. To be concentrated is to be able to keep your awareness on one thing for an extended period of time. How do we practice this? We practice this by doing one thing at a time throughout the day. What's the best way to develop concentration? The best way to develop concentration is to bring that practice into our everyday life. Look at opportunities throughout your day. In your average day, ask yourself, what's a great opportunity to practice concentration? How many of you have a spouse or partner that you live with? Quite a few of you. Every time you speak with your spouse or your partner, keep that ball of light, that awareness on that person. It drifts away, bring it back. It drifts away, bring it back. The more you practice this, the more you become better at concentration. Give her or him your undivided attention. So if you speak to your spouse for 2 hours a day, what a great opportunity to practice concentration. Every time you speak with your child, practice concentration. Parents come up to me all the time and say, Dandapani, how can I teach my children to concentrate? Very easy. You learn to concentrate first. You know, there's an old saying that goes, monkey sees, monkey do, you know. And if you can't concentrate, you can't expect your child to concentrate. And if you don't teach your children how to concentrate, how can they possibly learn how to concentrate? They can't. The benefits of concentration are endless, right? When you're able to concentrate, you're able to focus all your energy into a single given point. Life is a manifestation of where your energy is flowing. And if you can't concentrate your energy, the things that you want to manifest in your life becomes very, very challenging. So learn to concentrate by doing one thing at a time. Bring this practice into everything that you do throughout the day. Make it a part of your life. Practice, practice, practice. Keep bringing awareness back and keep it focused on one thing at a time.
Interesting. So beforehand, I had this idea that I forgot to mention, but I want to get something from a few of you that I'm going to ask what you got from this. The one thing in property, we juggle a lot of balls. So we are constantly focusing on very different aspects. The idea with the goal setting today is to know the general direction which you're going to, breaking it down to small daily activities and getting yourself to focus while you're doing small things. I drive to Somerset West almost daily, 45 minutes, and I can't tell you how many times I just end up there and I don't know how I got there. So I try and switch off the music, drive, and be meticulous as to how I'm driving. Or when I open my dashboard on my laptop, try and finish an activity and not have multiple tabs open. How many of you has multiple tabs open on their laptops at the moment? Because we're constantly busy juggling the whole time, but trying to get yourself to do one thing and finish it and think that you have a finite amount of energy, you only have this much to give in a day. What are you spending that on? That you don't have this bottomless pit of energy. What are you spending that on and what do you want more of? So the idea of today's training is to help you figure out specific goals for you, what it is you want, and mostly it's going to be built around why you want it. Where do you see yourself? And I broke it down to 2 points. One is the SMART goals. They have an option called SMARTer, where it has an E and an R at the end. It's not really practical for how we work with agents because E and R is evaluations and re-evaluating. So that is when you work in a very corporate environment with a boss that's whipping, that's trying to get you to perform in a certain way. With us, you are your own creator of where you want to go. And then the other one is I want to share something about the definite chief aim. Has anybody heard about that concept before? DCA, a definite chief aim? None. I'm glad. So initially, we're going to break down specific goals. Specific goals means it needs to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. When you break down the goals in those 5 concepts, then you're going to be able to, in the end, write a final goal. So we're going to go through some exercises. The idea is to break down the SMART initially, and then you write down your own versions of that. And from there, we're going to write our SMART goal. After that, I'm going to share a little bit more about the definite chief aim. The DCA is more a concept of who you need to become in order to have the things that you would like to be. So the one is more a goal orientated around what it is you want to achieve, and the other part is more holistic, where it is who you need to become. So if you all on the first page, I'm going to share some info there with notes that I've got. SMART goals, it's a relatively new idea. It was developed in 1981 by a smart guy called George T. Doran. It's a tool to create criteria to help improve the chances of succeeding in accomplishing a goal. So, setting specific goals. The first point is it must be clear and well defined. You are more than welcome to make notes on the next page. You'll see there is an initial goal, and then we're going to have 5 points. I think to start off, take 5 minutes and write a goal that you just feel comes to you naturally. Something very vague, the way you would normally write it, under initial goal. Don't read any further, write down what you think you would write if it was a test for you. How easy was that to do? Pretty awkward. Agree? Not at all. Some people, Gail, of course you've done it before and probably on how they're creating goals. Was it for you?
Voor mij? Redelijk makkelijk.
So je kan het zien wat je wil.
Ik is in het proces
om het te doen. Ja, Cornel?
Ja.
Yeah. The thing about goals is figuring out why we do it in the first place. And one of the best ways to explain this through a story. We were in Joburg over December and friends of ours bought a new car. It's a car that I've never seen before. We saw it there, and I don't know if you all had this feeling, but once you notice something, especially when you're in the market for a new car, you see that car everywhere. Where before, it's always been there, you just never noticed it before. It's the same CX-5, the Mazda CX-5. Now, I might ruin the rest of your days for you, but it's this beautiful little red number, and you might end up seeing the same car all over. And I want you to, when you see it, remind yourselves of why we have goals. Because the whole idea of goals is, you don't know what to look for if you don't know what you're looking for. Very simple analogy. When you know, even if it's a rough draft idea of what it is you want and where you're going, then you can try and figure out how you want to get there, and you'll be able to see the opportunities on a day-to-day basis. Being a client that phones you, or an opportunity that pops up, where beforehand it's always there, you just skim over it and you don't even notice it in the first place. So the idea is to write down your initial goal, where usually it should be a little bit of a, you're not sure what it is you want, how to word it, how to have it be something that's going to really propel you and motivate you to accomplish it. So I'm going to break down the SMART into what it means, and then write a few notes underneath each section, and we're going to, in the end of the day, write down an abbreviated version of your goal where it's more SMART related. The S stands for specific. The idea of specific is, what do you want to accomplish? It talks about the W's. When setting a goal, be specific about what you want to accomplish. Think about this as a mission statement for your goal. The popular W questions will help you. Who? In our case, it's always buyers, sellers, prospects, or other agents. So who? What? Think about exactly what you're trying to accomplish. I don't know if you want to write down some of the W's, because that is the idea is to think about how you can build in more meat in your initial goal, and have it be about exactly who you're referring to, what you are referring to, when. You'll have to get more specific with this question to be time bound. You should have at least a set time frame for when this goal should be accomplished. Where? In our case, it's always, the location is more homebound, office bound, and it could be pertaining to your business environment where you work from home. Which? Determine any related obstacles or requirements. This question can be beneficial in deciding if your goal is realistic. And why? What is the reason for this goal? It is not just about making money in a service-orientated industry. We only get paid way later after delivering the services. So why are you wanting to deliver the service that you do? It could be because you love helping people to find their ideal homes. It could be because you love elderly people to scale down. Whichever your target market is, that why will really help you define more of who you want to service. The next one, M, stands for measurable. How can you measure the progress if you successfully meet your goal? Do you have any idea for me, Dan? How can you measure in our industry?
You can do weekly reviews.
That's a good idea.
Oh, absolutely. And the only thing is you've got to keep doing it. It's no good starting and then like doing it for 3 weeks, because you lose momentum. So you've got to be able to implement whatever you decide to do. And that's where the motivation comes in.
It does. It does. Doing it without you seeing results yet, but still doing the work. And Roy, do you know another way of measuring? How do you measure? So you set a goal. I want to achieve X.
Time.
Would it be
Numbers.
perfect?
Amounts.
Rand value. We are in this business to make more money in the end of the day. When I started, an agent told me, don't ever come across as desperate, because desperation revolts. And in my years, I've seen it. Once you become desperate for a sale and you have to make it work, people pick it up and you usually it ends up with sloppy paperwork. It's very one-sided where you have to make ends meet, and to measure it would be to have a rand value or an amount of sales that you want to have sold. And in our case, because we can determine our own commission, it could be that you want to sell at least 5% plus VAT or 6% plus VAT. Shoot higher and shoot for the moon and land on the stars, they say. So it could be in our industry, could be the amount of sales, rand value, or percentage of commission. Either one of the three. Achievable. Achievable means if you don't have the skills in order to reach your goal yet, where is the shortfall and what do you need to do to improve on that? We are very strong with training and giving you the tools, and I mean, myself and Antonia are both open to any suggestions on where you need extra help. We know it's an industry that's self-regulated, so you might need some help like this on how to set goals, which is usually a very simple procedure, but there's a lot more to it than just writing down goals. So it could be asking for help with that. If you want to get involved in industrial or commercial sales, learning how to do it, shadowing the right agents. So you might be an agent for a long time in residential sales and want to change and include other aspects. Rentals is a very different industry, but it is also something that you can decide to explore more, and make sure you do the necessary training that you need in order to get that. The goal is meant to inspire and motivate, not to give you discouragement. So it needs to be something that you are really passionate about, something that you feel excited about, and figuring out what you need to do to get there. The R, that stands for relevant. And that is more with a bigger picture in mind. Why am I setting this goal? And is it in line with my overall objectives? The overall objective will come in later with the definite chief aim. But you need to figure out, you're making a goal for the year of 2019, but does it fit into your overall plan for your life? Even if you only have a 5-year plan, maybe just a 2-year plan, making sure that your 2019 goal resonates with your bigger picture for where you see your life going. Relevance refers focusing on something that makes sense with the broader business goals. For example, if the goal is to launch a new service method within Meridian, it should be something that is in alignment with the overall business objectives. So for example, that new valuation booklet that's coming out, that you make sure your goal should be to have it ready with every valuation presentation. It could even be as simple as that. Making sure if you want to offer better service, using the tools that's there, having a method to print out all the documents that you need in advance, have at least 5 copies of each that you carry with you in your car. So it could be as simple as that. The T is for time bound. What is the deadline, and is it realistic? We work in an industry where our timelines are almost delayed by 3 months. So any sales you do today will most likely only register in 3 months. So to be sure, break it down into quarters and make sure that you figure out how many sales you want for the first quarter, the second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter, and be able to measure that. Bear in mind that there's seasonal changes where the markets are quieter in certain seasons than others, and what you can do to make sure sales always happen. How are you going to be there where the sales happen? If the goal will take 3 months to complete, it's useful to define what should be achieved halfway through the process. So we are on a 3-month lapse period. End of March should be your first expiration date. Be able to measure it by middle of February, beginning of March to see are you on track. The nice thing of being time bound is when you work under pressure and you have a specific time that you told yourself, I want to finish it by then. It's realistic, but be able to do what needs to be done in order to finish it within time. Easiest way to write SMART goals. So I'm going to share some thoughts with you, and then we are going to write our final SMART goal, bearing in mind, being specific. Are you looking at selling more homes? Is it doing more valuations? Is it giving better service? Is it implementing new marketing strategies? Being able to measure it, so work in dates. So I want to sell 10 homes within the next 6 months, and be able to break it down into quarters, to be able to measure it. Making sure that it's achievable, and if not, making sure that you ask for the training or delve into training methods to be able to help you reach that goal. That it's relevant, so that it still connects with your bigger picture for where you see yourself going, and time bound, that you have an expiration date as to when you want to achieve it. SMART goals, when it comes to writing SMART goals, be prepared to ask yourself and other colleagues a lot of questions. So if you feel the need to ask one of the colleagues here, what is your goals, to use some of their methods and their wording in yours, feel free to do that. Brainstorming is the best way to get ideas as to how to set goals. After all, this is something that you want to achieve, so it's not something that you, the world is not going to end if you don't reach your goal. But you can't reach, if you don't have a goal, you can't score, as we said in that heading. Establishing clarity around success and failure. So before I let you write down your final SMART goal, just like everything else in business, SMART goals can change as time goes by. Someone might ask you to write a smarter goal where they want you to evaluate and reevaluate it as well. The idea behind this is you should constantly be evaluating your goals and resetting them as needed. Company directions can change, personal goals evolve, so maybe a goal you set 6 months ago no longer makes sense. So keep this somewhere close where you can see it. That's the reason why we put it on a page of its own. So the idea is this page will be something that you can stick to a wall, and this last page, the definite chief aim as well. Put it somewhere where you can see it regularly, so you can remind yourself of how to do that. And after we set the goal, at the bottom there should be enough space for you to make an action plan as to steps. This is a step that's often missed. Once you've got your goal, figure out how you're going to get there. So initially, let's write our SMART goal, and then I'll give you a few tips on to how to make an action plan and how to stick with it. Everybody got their tools? Perfect. So go through your goal and just make sure of the following. Mark down just a small tick on whether it's specific. Make 100% sure. I'm going to send you an email with this template, so if you need to print out a new one, do so. But make sure that you follow the guidelines. Is it specific as to what it is, why, who, that it has any of those components within it? Is it measurable? That you put in either an amount, a percentage, a timeline, some sort of figure that you are able to measure it within a specific time frame. We'll get to the T later, but it needs to be timely. So I want to sell 10 houses for the year. It needs to have both of those in the same SMART goal statement. Is it achievable? Do you preferably it needs to be something where you push yourself, where you need to go a little bit outside of your comfort zone, where you need more training or more help to achieve the goal that you've set out? If not, play it safe, but make sure that the numbers are higher, that your measurement factor, if you know exactly what you're doing, then you should push the numbers. Is it realistic? The idea of a goal is not to shoot yourself in the foot and to end up not reaching it, but at the same time we tend to play too safe. We don't want to really set the bar too high because we want to stay realistic. Make sure it's realistic, but at the same time, giving yourself enough to feel like you are really proud of yourself when you reach that particular goal. And timely, make sure that you set times for yourself to evaluate and reevaluate. So timely is at the first quarter, the second quarter. We're going to get now to a few practical points that I'll get you, but how to be able to measure your goal throughout the year. The main thing with goals is to, now you've got your mission statement, you know what you want, who and what and where, you know the time frame and the amount. But the main thing is now to go back and break it down into an action plan. It's not something that you can put on the wall, read every day, and magically it just happens. But a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step, and if you keep on doing one step at a time, you will reach the end destination. So with action plan, it's often missed in the process of goal setting. You get so focused on the outcome that you forget to plan all the steps that are needed along the way. By writing out the individual steps and then crossing each one off as you complete it, you'll realize that you are making progress towards your ultimate goal. This is especially important if your goal is big and demanding or long-term. A yearly goal is a long-term goal. In property, it's easy. There's this unspoken formula where you'll know in your demographic area what the exact figures are. But I worked on at least wanting to sell 4 homes a month, which meant 1 per week. And that was really realistic and really attainable. But it meant I had to have at least double the amount of mandates. I've tried to, as far as possible, work only on mandates rather than open mandates and multi-listings included, work on sole mandates. So I had to have 8 sole mandates at any given time. For me to have 8, I had to have at least double the amount of valuations per month. So I worked on at least between 15 to 20 valuations a month, which meant 5 a week, 1 a day. So you break it down to daily activities. If I make contact with 10 people per day asking for valuations, I should have a 1 in 10 hit rate. So look at your demographic area, the amount of sales that you want to achieve. It's usually double that amount of mandates that you need, double that amount of valuations that need to be done, and break it down to small daily activities. And that changes from demographic to demographic. In Cape Town itself, where home sales are between 10 to 30 million, you might sell 1 a month. Where it's sectional title, you might end up selling 8 a month. So look at your area and break it down to specific homes. The last thing is, once you've got your action plan and you've broken it down to daily activities, you write down your daily activities in your diary, which you can tick off, because the next, only and the last step is building consistency. Now you've got your goal, you've got your timeline and actions on how to get there, but the last thing, and that's where most of us really suffer, is at building consistency. Being able to pick up the phone even though you reject it every time, or to keep on writing each offer and dealing with each client as though they are buying the property even though 10 people didn't buy the same home. And I always love to go back on when things get tough in the industry. I trust that I know there's a deal around the corner, and I'm excited to know, I wonder where it's going to come from. It's usually a random inquiry on a Friday afternoon. Sunday afternoons are very popular as well. Picking up the phone, phoning them as soon as they do the inquiry, and they're always really surprised with the level of service that they get. And ticking it back to seeing that it was this one simple inquiry that led to me showing them the property and they bought it. Because if you treat each buyer as though they're the person buying the house, one day they're going to be that. So it helps me to fuel myself, especially when things are not going the way I plan, and why you're juggling all these things, breaking it down to small activities on a daily basis. Everybody with me? Okay, everybody have their SMART goal. Make sure you measure it against that. Your only homework is to set out an action plan for yourself. I think it's a very personal thing, so I don't want to go around and ask everybody for their SMART goal and have them shared with everybody here, because it might be something very personal to you. But it is really important to make sure that it fits that criteria of being specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and timely, working on an action plan, and you're working out a tick box so you can make sure that you follow through with it. The next thing with the definite chief aim is, it's something that I discovered last year. I worked in Devonville for about 6 years and then moved to Central City when I met my husband, and it's a very different area to how Devonville works. So I know how it is to work in very demographic and very different types of people. I love working with family people and people that you can relate to. Now I was in a different area where I work with mainly people from overseas, where I had to tell my clients to take off their shoes before we go to viewings, and it's just very different, and you out of your comfort zone. And it was very tough, so I realized I still remember it like yesterday. It was February, the 12th of February last year. And I sat at home, it was early morning, and I read up about this definite chief aim. And I thought, okay, sounds interesting. And I did a course with a lady called Catherine Diva, and she explained what a definite chief aim was. And I took that day to write down my DCA, as they call it. And it was something that I did for myself. It took me a while to write it and to edit it. I wrote down one that I put on my wall, and I actually gave it as a gift to my husband for Valentine's Day. And we had it on the wall in June. We went to Bali. I took it off because we had people staying at our house, and I prefer it's very personal. So I took it on, and then just while I was prepping for this course, I happened to stumble across it again. And it took me out. Do I want to share it? Don't I? But in the end of the day, the best story that I can tell you is my own story. So I was very despondent and trying to find a way as to how can I get myself out of this? How can I take control so I don't feel like a victim? How can I feel that I'm really actively thinking of where I see my life going? Especially when you're talking about who you are and who you need to become. It's very different than setting just normal goals as to, I want to make this much money and this is what I need to do. It's very different when you have a definite chief aim. And the idea of a definite chief aim is that it's a specific, clearly defined statement of purpose. It has the power to guide your subconscious mind. Because one thing I've always struggled with is the idea of finding your purpose. It sounds like it's something everybody should know. And then your purpose changes and you always question, is it really what I'm supposed to do? What is the whole idea, especially when you have death in the family and something big happens? You re-question this whole sense of purpose. What am I doing this all for? And this DCA meant that I read it daily up until about June. Put it away, forgot about it. We made a lot of decisions that led to us moving overseas from March. And I rediscovered it and read it and thought, if I only knew that this would become true, I would have taken it much more serious. But it's almost like writing a script for where you see your life going. So I'm going to share my DCA and share with you what it is and give you, that's why I have this practical experience and your final one, because with the practical experience, I wrote down what I think I scratched a lot, and eventually I came down to writing the final one. The idea with this is not to take too much time, not to overthink it, and to do it right now, right here, because if you're going to try and do it when you leave, life is just going to happen and it's never going to happen in any way. So write this as though it's a preemptive thought. Antonia doesn't even know that I'm going to read this. But it's something dated February 2018, and it was my DCA. I, Leandra van Rooyen, Together with my soulmate husband, we'll create a business empire doing what we love. We will have the freedom to travel and explore the world, funded by multiple online income streams. In return, that's the main part, in return, I will contribute to creating the most magical and highest quality content for audience and clients, working as a team and pushing the boundaries while staying true to who we really are. I will be a successful and confident, compassionate business owner, keen to share my experiences as inspiration and how to create a life of meaning, even though I'm still constantly discovering and redefining my own sense of purpose. Starting 2018, we will actively pursue the journey of growing into something larger than ourselves. We will be financially free to live our lives as we please, growing in our love and achieving a deeper sense of inner happiness, harmony, and synchronicity. When I wrote this, I was in a very different mind frame. I was struggling and I was trying to figure out who I was. I'm a very different person now to who I was, but I still remember that person writing this. So I want to share my story and tell you that write this as though it's the truth and as though it's going to happen, because reading back at it now, it's exactly what's busy happening. And it must have been that I wrote it down, I read it to myself, I became that person who I had to become, because I saw the opportunities everywhere, and it just amalgamated, and here we are. So definite chief aim, the one that was used with that exercise is one from Bruce Lee from 1969. His definite chief aim is, I, Bruce Lee, will be the first highest paid Oriental superstar in the United States. In return, I will give the most exciting performances and render the most quality in the capacity of an actor. Starting 1970, I will achieve world fame, and from then, till the end of 1980, I will have in my possession $10 million. I will live the way I please and achieve inner harmony and happiness. I put it there in the corner because I use that as my foundation for the DCA. And the idea of the DCA is saying, there's a quote saying, truly thoughts are things and powerful things, and that they are mixed with definiteness and of purpose, persistence and a burning desire for their translation to riches or other material objects. A strongly held DCA transforms your mind in a powerful magnet which attracts the people and circumstances necessary for you to accomplish your desire. It's a first step in turning invisible desires into visible reality, taking an idea and making it real. The magic of a DCA helps you organize, direct, and harness the infinite power of the mind. It has to do with that, what Dr. Pani mentioned, that you only have an X amount, 100% power in the morning. What do you spend it on? What do you spend it on? And making sure that you spend it on things that you want more of, instead of things that deplete your energy. Once you have clarity about what you want and why you want it, you're ready to follow these steps to attain your DCA, definite chief aim. Write a clear description of your definite chief aim. Include a clear statement of what you intend to give in return, number 2. Believe you can and will attain your definite chief aim. Take inspired action towards it. Take that first step and persevere. Vitalize and thoroughly saturate your mind with your DCA. And the end result, as you see and feel and believe yourself already in possession of it. That is what I did when I read it every morning. Instead of just reading the words, I would think of what it would feel like to have that, to have it already be true. How it feels. How does it feel to be financially free? You can't feel lack and try and reach that. And what does it feel like? Try and reach those feeling places. It sounds like a lot of bedazzle, but it really works, because in the end of the day, when you resonate with that, you will see opportunities and things that will make it come alive around you, where previously it just goes by without it being seen. Remember in all of it to stay joyful and have fun while following the above steps and engage in the magic of the definite chief aim. So try with this practical exercise to think of yourself, visualize the best version of who you think you can be, where you see yourself going. I, Diane, see myself here and there. In return, I'm willing to give X, Y, and Z. And use that recipe to write and edit it, and then in the end, we're going to have our definite chief aim. So it's probably going to be quiet, everybody's going to be very busy with their own things. I'll leave this open space, and we'll end it for today. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, you mentioned just now somebody that wrote down a goal that was an actor. Who was that?
Bruce Lee.
Oh, okay.
So Bruce Lee.
I studied Bruce Lee from beginning to end. He was my hero, and that guy, actually, he achieved 3 goals, all of which he planned to do before he died. The thing is with Bruce Lee, he had 2 coaches, sometimes 3 coaches,
Yes.
helping him along the way, because it's a good thing to have a goal. The biggest problem with anybody with a goal is there's no follow through. There's no coaching.
Yes.
And if you don't follow through, and you might as well throw it away.
It is. And I think the main thing with the DCA, definitely chief aim, is a smart goal is I want to, and this is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to get there. A definite chief aim is I am. It takes it right into this moment. So you, right here, need to think of who you want to become in the future. Because all of us are held back by our previous experiences, our past thoughts, and we don't break free and go towards these incredible goals that you are able to achieve. When I wrote my own DCA a year ago, I'm going to write a new one for this year. But I wrote it not knowing the process, and just kind of out of feeling of desperation, and I just need to feel like I'm doing something. I can't just wait for sales to happen, because in our industry, a lot of it you feel it can happen any day. You get this phone call and a sale happens. I don't want to feel like a victim that's waiting for the winds to change. I wanted to be more instrumental as to who do I want to be. And that really helped me, and I was really shocked when I read it and I realized, here I am, going on this adventure of traveling and having the freedom to explore while working online and having that dream, just doing what needs to get done to have that dream come true. But if I didn't have that dream and I didn't allow myself to even think of that, I wouldn't have been here today. The only reason why I'm even at Meridian is because of this DCA and what the steps that I took to get here. So opportunities will come, but it's only coming if you know what it is you want for yourself, instead of sitting back and waiting for life to happen to you. If you can write down a mission statement for who you see yourself to be, and not just that, what you want to give in return. All of us are here to give our uniqueness, our sense of, only you can give who you are the way you can. But you need to know where you want to go in the end of the day. So I want to give you all this opportunity and use it. Write down, use those 3 things. I'll recap. Write a clear description of your definite chief aim. So listen to Bruce Lee's again. I, Bruce Lee, will be the first highest paid Oriental superstar in the United States. I know when he wrote this in 1969, he was dead broke. There was no way of it ever happening. So there's a very interesting story around it that you can Google. When he wrote this, he was down and out, but that mission statement meant that he got the coaches that he needed. What I need to get there, this is what I think I want to, not think, this is who I want to be, this is who I am. What I need to use, what resources, what help, what mentorship do I need in order to reach that? And that's the only thing that's your job. Knowing what you want, what I need to do in doing it. It's really as simple as that. So use this time and chat if you, is there any other questions from anybody else in the room? Already? Great, let's do it
Just,
so we can
sorry,
bring up the
just
DC.
those three things again.
So, clear description of what you want. You are, I am, and
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
What you want, stating you will give X, Y, Z, and then believing you can.
Okay.
Perfect. Use that as a reference and have fun. The tip would be to put these two documents somewhere where you will see daily. I think that is the main key, especially somewhere in your cupboard, somewhere in your diary. Take a minute each day, read it in the morning and in the evening so you're able to recite it and to realize who you need to become, to look out for those red Mazdas everywhere where you see them.